Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get right into the video. So around this time, I think I was like 18, maybe 19. Um, um, so around this time, I worked in the mall, and across, so the store that I worked in at the mall, across from us was another store. And the owner that worked there, we're just gonna call him owner, like he don't really need a name. So he was a new business owner pretty much. So he was a new business owner. That was his first store. He was all about like the black culture. So a lot of the times, like, he sold like a lot of books that were written by black artists. He did a lot of like talent shows showcasing pretty much like anything that black people like to do, right? So if you're black and you like do spoken word, stuff like that, then he would have you come out to his talent show, stuff like that. He would have book signings for black artists, that type of thing. So so there was a point in time where I kind of messed around with his homeboy from time to time, sometimes same time together. Like I said, I just had a lot going on. A whole lot going on. So one day I'm at work, and like it was pretty much closing time. So it was me and one of the managers. We're closing the store, and gets our attention. And he looks at me. He was like, "Hey, when you're done over here, shoot over to my shop real quick. I want to holler at you for a second." So when he said that, I looked at the manager, and she's looking at me like what? Like she's confused. And I didn't know if he was trying to like blow my spot up, like because don't tell nobody that we messing together, like keep your lips closed. You feel me? But yeah, so I don't really know what his motive is. So I kind of nipped it in the bud right there. And I was like, well, like, what's up? Like, what you gotta holler at me about? Like, you could say it right here. And he was like, nah, like, my partner over there, like, he wanna get your number. So I'm like, oh, all right, well, yeah, I'll be over there when I get done. So he leaves, and the manager looks at me, and she was like, "Are you really about to go over there?" I was like, "Yeah, finna see like who his homeboy is, and like see if he's cute enough for me to give him my number, stuff like that." Because at the time, I was very much single, and I wasn't opposed to giving my number out clearly. So she was like, all right, well, just be careful. Like, his wife is crazy. And I laughed, and I'm like, girl, I'm not going over there for him. Like, he said he got a friend over there. Like, that's really why I'm trying to go. I'm trying to see, like, who this friend is. So she kind of like was like, all right, whatever. I don't know if she knew that me and him were kind of messing around or not. Like, but I knew that at that point, she definitely, like, had her suspicions. So so after we're done closing the store, she locks up. She goes her way to leave, and I go over to his store. So, excuse me. So when I go over there, like he's standing behind the gate, and I see his homeboy who I had messed with before. So that's what, like, I assumed he was talking about him. So I walked over to the gate, and I was like, "What's up? You wanted me to come over here?" And he was like, "Yeah, like he's like, yeah, like my partner, he wants your number." And he kind of like pointed next to him, like not where his homeboy was standing, but like pointed off to the side. And at the time, I didn't see anybody over there. So I'm like, who? And then I see this dude stand up, like he was sitting down on like a stool. So he stood up, and he was like, me. And I walked over to him. It was kind of like love at first sight. Like when I walked over to him and like we locked eyes, it was like everything disappeared. Like I was no longer standing in the mall, standing in front of their gate. Like it was literally just me and him staring at each other. And I don't even know how long we were staring at each other, but it felt like a very long time. So I smiled at him, and I was like, oh yeah, he said that you wanted my number. And he looked at me, and he was like, yeah. He was like, yeah, like, what, you leaving? I was like, yeah, my ride is outside waiting on me. Like, I'm about to head out. So he was like, all right, well, come on, I'm gonna walk you out. So I step back, and he lifts up the gate, right? So after he closes the gate, I go to say bye to owner and his homeboy. But owner is looking at us like, what the fuck? Like he just had like this look on his face as if he was confused, right? So so I said bye to them. They said bye, and then we're gonna call him Boo. So me and Boo were walking towards like the back corridor to get out of like the mall and stuff like that. So we're walking and we're talking. So he asks me my name, he tells me his name. I was like, yeah, I've been there for about a year now. Like, what, you work at the store with owner? But of course I didn't say the store with owner, I said the actual store name. I was like, you work over there? He was like, yeah, I just started there not too long ago. I was like, oh, okay. He was like, really? I'm new to town. Like, I just moved here. So I said, where did you move from? And he was like, from Baltimore. Like, I was born and raised in Baltimore and I just moved down here. So I'm like, oh, okay. Are you liking it so far? He was like, yeah, it's cool. Like, it's definitely different from the city. So I laughed and I was like, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. So he was like, so are you single? Do you have a boyfriend? And here's the thing, like, after we locked eyes, I liked him and I knew that there was something between us. So I didn't want to start off by lying. Like, I wanted to be 100% honest, of course. So I told him, I was like, yeah, I'm single, but like, I have this ex. Like, we've been on and off for like 4 years. Like, it's just a lot of stuff with us. Like, we're not together currently, but it's like I'm trying to move on and he just won't let me go. So even though we're not together, like, he still is in my life, and it's a lot of stuff with that. So I understand if you don't want to get involved with me because, I still have him that I'm trying to get rid of. And he was like, nah, like, I appreciate your honesty. In fact, because you were honest with me, I still do want your number and I still want to get to know you. So I'm like, all right, cool. Cool then. I give him my number, he gives me his number. So once you walk out the door outside of the mall, my dad is on the other side of the gate. So then I tell him that my dad is on the other side of this gate. So, like, I guess I'll hit you up or you can hit me up. So he was like, all right, yeah, I'm definitely going to text you, but before you go, can I have a kiss? And I'm like, sure. So, of course we kissed, and oh my God, his lips were so soft, they felt like pillows. Like, I kid you not. His lips felt like a pillow on a cloud. Like, that's the best way I can describe it. So, so after that, he was like, you know what? Actually, I'm just gonna walk you all the way to your dad's car. So I laughed and I'm like, you don't have to do that. He was like, I know, but it's dark out here and you do have to walk around the gate. So yeah, I'm gonna just walk you around there. So I'm like, okay. So he walks me to my dad's car. He opens the door for me. I get in. He speaks to my dad and then he closes the door and then we pull off. I go home and then, like, days later, I'm still thinking about this kiss. I'm thinking about the kiss. I'm like, I really like him. He was really sweet, really nice. It was very much gentleman like of him to, like, walk me to the car, open my door, stuff like that. I had never experienced before. So, of course, I was hooked immediately, right away. So, a few days later, he ends up hitting me up, right? So, he hits me up, and now we're texting. And well, he pretty much asked me if I wanted to come over to his crib, and he was like that he was going to be over there with some of the guys. They were going to be, chilling, playing the game, stuff like that, right? So I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, I don't mind. I don't mind coming over. Like, it is what it is, right? So at that point, I had to find a ride over there because I didn't drive. And I think Boo had his license, but he didn't have a car. But sometimes he would drive his uncle's car when he was home. So I ended up asking my dad to take me over there. So when my dad took me over there, my little brother was in the car with us. So I get over to his place, or shall I say to his uncle's place. So I get over there, Boo answers the door, and we get in, and of course, we're hugging and stuff like that. He introduces me to his two friends. We're gonna call one white boy, because we're gonna call him Boosie because he looked like little Boosie. So we're just gonna call him Boosie. I was like, oh well, who? Because he told me that he just moved there. So he tells me that he lives there with his uncle, but he said that his uncle was like at work. So as he's taking me around and he's like giving me a tour of like the place and stuff like that, like, what really stood out to me was the fact that his uncle was very well off, like very well off. And I could just tell just by the way his home was decorated. Like, you ever walk into somebody's house and you see the way that it's decorated and it's like, wow, like, this person got money. Like, that's exactly what it was. Exactly what it was. So he shows me around downstairs, and then like we go upstairs. So when he takes me upstairs, like his uncle's room was like the first room that you see when you walk upstairs, but of course the door was closed. And he was just like, this is my uncle's room. And I was like, oh, okay. Then we walked down a little bit more further into the hallway, and then there was the bathroom. Then we walk a little bit more, and then there was his room, and then next to his room was another room that he just said was like the guest room. So I'm like, oh, all right, cool, no problem. So we go into his room, and Boo, White Boy, and Boosie, they're playing the game, right? So I'm sitting on the bed, scrolling through my phone, watching them play the game. There was like conversation here and there. Like overall, it was pretty chill, like pretty cool, pretty chill. And Boosie and White Boy, they decided they want to go downstairs to get something to eat. So they leave and go downstairs. So while they're gone, me and Boo, we're talking, and he's pretty much just asking me questions like, oh, like, I hope that I'm not boring you by playing the game with my friends. Like, I don't know if you want me to like be all up on you. And I laugh, and I'm like, nah, like you're good. Like it's no problem. Like if you want to sit and talk to, like sit and, play the game with your friends, and then me and you talk here and there, like I'm cool with that. Like it's not a problem. As we're talking, Boosie comes back. He comes back into the room. So he opens the door and he looks at Boo, and he was like, yo, like come downstairs real quick. And Boo was like, he was like, for what? Like y'all know where the food is down there. And he was like, nah, like come down here real quick. Like just come on. So Boo looks at me and he was like, hold on, I'll be right back. So I'm like, okay. Like, and I don't think nothing of it. So I'm just sitting there scrolling through my phone, and then I hear my name being called from downstairs. So I'm like, why the fuck are these niggas? You like, why are they calling my name? I open the door and I'm walking down the hallway. So as I'm walking down the hallway, Boo comes, like he comes walking down the hallway too, if that makes sense. Like I'm going this way towards downstairs, and then Boo is coming this way, like coming from upstairs. So we meet each other in the hallway. He was like, yo, there's some dude downstairs, like downstairs at the door asking for you. And I was like, who? And he was like, I don't know. He said his name was Michael, and he said that he knows you, and he's asking for you. And I'm like, Michael? Do I know anybody named Michael? And I'm thinking hard. I'm like, do I know anybody named Michael? But I'm finna go see who it is anyway. So we go back downstairs, and when I get downstairs, I look and I see that White Boy and Boosie, they're in the kitchen, probably making something to eat. And then Boo, like, he walks off somewhere. So I go to the door. I kid you not. I opened the door, and all I saw was darkness because it was dark outside at this point. So I'm like, what the fuck? And then I step outside. So I step outside and I'm looking around. I'm like, hello, hello. And I'm looking and I don't see nobody. When I'm about to turn around and walk back into the house, somebody grabs my arm. They grab my arm, pull me away from the door, and now we're fucking speed walking to the end of the cul-de-sac, like to get out of the cul-de-sac. So I look up and I see that it's my ex. And I'm like, what? I'm like, wait, what are you doing here? And like, cause he's literally pulling me down the street to the point where I snatch my arm back, and I'm like, what the fuck? What are you doing here? What the fuck are you doing here? So I'm like, I'm in here chilling. Like, what are you talking about? So he was like, what the fuck are you doing in there with them niggas? And I'm like, I wasn't doing nothing. I was sitting on the bed scrolling through my phone, and they was in there playing the game. He looks past me. He was like, come on. And he pulls me, and he's literally dragging me down the street by my fucking arm. So I snatch my arm back again, right? And I'm like, stop, I'm not going anywhere. And when I say that, I turn around and I look back towards Boo's house. And I see Boo, Boosie, and White Boy like rushing over to us. I see them rushing over to us, right? So they get there, and Boo is going off at my ex. They're arguing back and forth, and Boo is like, you think I'm gonna let that shit slide the way you just disrespected my crib like that? The way you just disrespected me like that? I kid you not. And White Boy is holding him back, And then Boosie is also holding him back. Boosie's like, chill, chill, like it's not that deep, it's not that deep, chill. And then Boo was like, nah, cause this nigga really thinks she's sweet. And that's when my ex is like, my I'm so sorry. But my ex, he's like, I didn't come here to fight. Like, I just came to get hurt. And I'm like, I'm not going nowhere with you. Leave me the fuck alone. So get the fuck off her. Get the fuck off her. I step in front of my ex and I start pushing him back because that's when I realized that this is no longer an argument. Like, these niggas is about to fight. So I get in front of my ex and I start pushing him back. And then Boosie gets in front of Boo and he starts pushing him back, right? And they end up pushing Boo back into the house. So when Boo goes into the house, my ex, he grabs my hand again, and now we're walking, right? But this time, like I didn't pull away from him, and like I didn't stop because clearly he needs to get the fuck, like, to get away from here at this point. So we get across the street. And he's like, once again, starts questioning me, asking me like what I was doing in there. And then I start questioning him. I'm like, how did you even know that I was over here? Like, who even told you that I was here? And he was like, that my brother told him that I was here. And in my mind, I'm like, all right, okay, noted. Let me remind myself to never go anywhere with my brother inside the vehicle, because why would he snitch like that? I think that is very important for me to give a little bit of a backstory as to how me and my ex got to this point. We have been together for 4 years, right? And so he was very verbally abusive in our relationship. And around this time, like prior to this, he cheated on me and had a baby with the girl. And at that point, I was just pretty much done with him and done with our relationship, but I still had feelings for him nonetheless. So it's like, yes, I was trying to move on, but I still had feelings for him. Like, I still loved him, I still cared about him, very much so. But yeah, I wanted to make it clear that I was most definitely in the process of moving on, and he knew that. So as we're standing across the street, right? And we're talking and he's asking me like what I was doing in there, and I'm telling him like I wasn't doing nothing. Like, I was just chilling on the bed, scrolling through my phone while they were playing the game and stuff like that. So as we're talking or whatever, that he should have never came over there in the first place. So this nigga gets on his knee. He literally gets on his knees, gets on hands and knees, and starts begging me. I'm talking about in the middle, like, because we're standing on the sidewalk at this point, but it's like cars are driving by. This man is on his fucking hands and knees begging me not, begging me not to go back into that house, begging me to leave with him. And I'm just like, no, like, leave. Like, you need to go. Like, I never told you to come over here. You should have never came over here. Like, I don't even know what you're doing here, to be honest. So then he asks me to marry him. He proposes to me and asks me to marry him. And of course, I say no. Because what? You're asking me to marry you, and you just had a house, literally drag me by my arm out of his house, and now you're asking me to marry you. What makes you think I'm finna say yes? I'm finna say no. Of course I say no. Like, I say no. And then he basically offers to take me on a date. Basically, he was like, oh well, come with me so that we can go get something to eat. Like, we can go get something to eat. And that I said yes to because I was hungry. I was like, all right, well, we can go get something to eat, but I need to go back in the house because I left my chapstick, which I did. Like, this was back when EOS just had like lip balm. Like, they didn't have lotion or body wash or nothing like that. So I left my EOS lip balm inside of Boo's house, and I wanted that. So I told him, I was like, well, hold on, I need to go back in there because I left my lip balm. And he was like, please don't go back in there, please. Like, he's literally begging me not to go back in there. And I guess he thought that if I went back in there that I wasn't gonna come out, which was not true at all. Like, I was like, I'm hungry, I'm finna go get something to eat. Like, I was always finna come back out. But anyway, moving on from that. So me and my ex, we ended up going to a restaurant, going to get something to eat. A few days later, Boo ends up hitting me up. He ends up hitting me up, and now we're talking about the incident that happened. And of course, I immediately start off by apologizing. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't know that he was going to come over there. Like, I didn't know any of that was going to happen. And then he hit me back, and he was like, was that your ex that you were telling me about that you have been together with for years? And I told him, yeah. So he was like, okay, yeah, I figured that the way he pulled you out the house like that. He was like, so you sure that y'all aren't together now or nothing like that? And I'm like, no, like I keep telling you, like this nigga will not leave me alone. Like we're not together, we're not nothing. I don't even know why he would pop up like that. And then he was like, well, how did he know where you were? Did you tell him? And I told him when my dad dropped me off, my little brother was in the car. So I guess he must have asked my brother where I was, and then my brother told him. But I didn't tell him where I was or anything like that. So then I tell Boo, I'm like, I know this is a lot of drama, probably more than you intended it to be when I first mentioned him. So, like, I get if you don't want to talk to me no more. Like, I completely understand. And he was like, nah. He was like, nah, you good. Like, you told me from the jump what the situation with y'all was. And I had already decided at that point that I'm not going anywhere. So I'm like, okay, T. But anyway, so yeah. So me and Boo, we continue talking, we continue chilling, hanging out with each other. The only difference is that I was like, okay, obviously me asking my dad to take me over there is not gonna work anymore, just by that one incident. So now it's getting to a point where I'm taking a taxi over there. So it's sometimes I would pay for my own taxi, and then sometimes Boo would pay for my taxi. Like it really just depends, right? And then I would also take a taxi like in the morning. So one time I went over there, I think it was like in the afternoon ish, and his uncle was home. So of course, I met his uncle, and now like I want to know what it is that he does because I like his house. His house is decorated very nicely. So so we go into the kitchen, and his uncle was in there cooking. And I don't remember exactly what he was cooking. He introduced me to his uncle. His uncle seemed to like me like right away. He thought that I was very funny. I assume because he was laughing at everything that I said. Like, his uncle was like, yeah, we need to have you over for dinner sometime. And I said, you really do because I see that you like to cook, which is great because I like to eat. And his uncle thought that was just so funny. He thought it was so funny, but I was being so serious because, like, you like to cook, I like to eat, we're locked in. No, no, for real. So, time is going by, and I'm spending more and more time with Boo, right? Um, Other than that one time that I met his uncle, I had probably saw him like maybe two more times after that. Like there was another time when I came over and he was in the living room watching TV, and I walked in there, I was having a conversation with him, asking him like what he was watching, just stuff like that, and giving my opinion on the show that he was watching. And now it's getting to the point where I'm spending the night over there. Now, most of the time, I would just go over there to like chill and hang out, but I would always end up spending the night. Like, that's just what would happen. And that was never the intention, like, oh, come over here so you can spend the night. It was just come over here to chill, and then I end up spending the night. So apparently Boosie and Boo, they were like super close. They were pretty much brothers at this point. So every time I would go over to Boo's house, Boosie would be there. And when it was time for us to go to sleep, obviously me and Boo would sleep in his room, and then Boosie would sleep in the guest room. So, there was one time when I was over there, and Boo was asking me, he was like, hey, do you have a friend or, a homegirl for Boosie, so that you can bring over here with you whenever you come? And I'm like, I don't know, but like I could ask around. And then I thought about it. I was like, oh, well, I do have a friend named Shakita. Like, her and her boyfriend, they just recently broke up. Like, let me hit her up and see if she wants to talk to him. Right? Now, just a little backstory on me and Shakita's friendship. So, we ended up becoming friends in high school. So, I want to say my 10th or 11th grade in high school, her locker was the meetup spot. Like whenever the bell would ring and we would get out of classes, we like everyone, because we ran in the same friend group, so we would all like go up to her locker, have like short conversations and kick it a little bit, until like the next bell rang, pretty much, for us to go to class. So that's how we ended up becoming friends. But it wasn't until after high school where we actually like got close, and we like started texting each other, started talking on the phone, like started hanging out at the mall, like she would come to my house, like stuff like that. Like that didn't take place until like after high school. So I ended up hitting her up, and I was like, hey, my boo, he has a friend named Boosie, I know that you and your boyfriend just broke up. Would you want to talk to him? And she was like, what does he look like? So then I told Boo to send me a picture of Boosie so that I can show Shakita. So he sends me a picture. I send it to her. And then as I'm sending her the picture, Boo texts me. He was like, Boosie want to know what she looked like too. So get her to send you a picture and I'm going to send it to him. And that's exactly what I did. So now we're sending pictures back and forth trying to hook our friends up. So pretty much they end up liking each other. They ended up exchanging numbers. So now Boosie and Shakita, now they're talking. So some more time is going by, and Boo hits me up one day and he was like, hey, the next time you come over, like bring Shakita with you because Boosie wants to see her. So I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. So me and Shakita, we come up with this whole plan for her to tell her family that she's gonna stay with me for the weekend, even though like because of course she didn't want to tell them that she was gonna come with me over to Boo's house so that she could see her boyfriend. Because at this point, Shakita and Boosie, they're a couple now. So we end up doing that, and honestly, I don't want to say that my mom didn't really care, but like it wasn't really a big deal because I would always leave to go over to Boo's house. And at first she would ask me like if I was spending the night or if I was coming back, and I didn't say who it was, I just said a friend. And I would tell her that I was coming back, but I would never come back because like I said before, I would always spend the night. So it got to a point where she just stopped asking. So the weekend came. I asked my mom if Shakita could come stay for the weekend. My mom was like, that was cool. So Shakita comes over, like her parents drop her off and stuff like that. So literally, I kid you not, that night we end up going over to Boo's house, right? So Boo end up paying for our taxi over there. So we get there, we get in the house, we get up to like the bedroom, because the bedroom was pretty much our chill spot. It's where we would all chill at once we got over there. So me and Boo, like, we're laying on the bed, like, cause Boo and Boosie, they're playing the game. And then Shakita is sitting on her man's lap, cause he was sitting in a chair, so like she's sitting on her lap and stuff. So right off the bat, the vibes were very much good. Like we're all laughing, having a good time, right? The only issue, and it wasn't, well, no, because it did end up becoming an issue, but it wasn't an issue this first night. So basically, what ends up happening is that, so when me and Shakita get together, like we were very loud. We both have very big personalities. We're very much loud. So, we're laughing loud, we're talking loud, stuff like that, right? Shakita did not smoke. So when we wanted to smoke, obviously we can't smoke in his uncle's house. So we would go outside, smoke, and like walk around like the cul-de-sac and stuff like that, right? So when we would do that, most of the time it would be just me and Boo walking next to each other side by side. And then Shakita and Boosie would either be behind us or in front of us, and they would also be walking side to side. But most of the time it would be just us in like a big group. And Boo kept making it a big deal for us to be quiet because we were very loud. So he just kept saying, shh, y'all too loud. Like, I don't mind y'all laughing or y'all playing around, but like just keep the volume to a minimum. So we're like, okay, cool. Now he would also tell us this when we were inside the house too, which was understandable. But once we got outside, not to say we felt like we could be as loud as we wanted, but we felt like we didn't have to be quiet, but that quiet basically, because we're outside. Because now it became like a every other weekend thing. Like every other weekend, Shakia would come over to my house and we would go to Boo's house where little Boosie was. So she would spend time with her man, and I would also spend time with my man, right? So, oh, and mind you, like the sleeping arrangements was pretty much the same. Like me and Boo would sleep in his room, and then Shakita and Boosie would sleep in the guest room. So, so boom. So it started to get to a point where one time we had came over there and Boo was saying that we were gonna have to be quiet because I guess the neighbors had complained, like when his uncle had came home, the neighbors had pretty much complained that it was too loud over, over there. He had got some complaints. So he was like, y'all just got to make sure that you're quiet, and not to say that it went in one ear not the other, because it didn't, but we we tried to like be quiet and stuff like that. Now, how do I explain this? Okay, so remember how I said that my ex cheated on me and had a baby with the girl, right? So the girl that he cheated on me with is friends with Shakita, right? They're friends, best friends to be exact. Now, I knew this beforehand because they were friends back in high school. I don't mind my friends having other friends. That has nothing to do with me, right? So, when me and Shakita would hang out, she would never bring up the girl. And I don't know what they would talk about when they would hang out, but because, that don't got nothing to do with me. I just want to put that out there. So, oh, and mind you, Boo knew this. He knew that her friend is the one who my ex cheated on me with, and they had the baby. Like he knew the whole tea. So boom. So one day, one weekend, it was on a Saturday. So me and Shakita, we're getting ready to go over to Boo's house to see our boyfriends. So as we're getting ready, of course, my ex pops up again. And when he comes in, of course, he knows Shakita. So she goes to the bathroom. So when she goes to the bathroom, he's asking me, like, oh, where are y'all about to go? So I tell him, like, oh, we're about to go over to Boo's house because she talks to his friend Boosie. So, of course, she wants to go see her man. And he was like, well, who you finna go see, Boo? So I'm like, yeah, like, that's my boyfriend. Like, that's my nigga. So of course he felt some type of way, and now we're going back and forth, like we're arguing back and forth, like literally arguing loud. And I'm like, well, I'm about to go over there, me and you are not together anymore, you can't stop me. And I said it just like that. And he was like, well, what are y'all finna do when you go over there? And I'm like, whatever we do when we go over there. Like, because what, like, it was retarded. It was honestly very much retarded. So Shakita comes out the bathroom, and she was like that she went ahead and told Boosie to call our taxi. So our taxi should be on the way. So I'm like, all right, cool. So she speaks to my ex, like they speak to each other, and that was it. And then he ends up leaving. So he leaves before the taxi gets there. So we go ahead and we get into the taxi and we like go over to Boo's house. I forgot to mention that a lot of the times, because sometimes Shakita would come with me when I would go over to Boo's house, and then sometimes she wouldn't. So it was pretty much iffy, right? But most of the times when she would come over there with me, she would always bring up my ex. Like always, like, and like asking questions about what happened with us, like why we're not together anymore, just stuff like that, right? And of course, I didn't have a problem with answering the questions, like I didn't at all. But of course, Boo, he don't want to hear about my ex. He don't want to hear about him. He don't want to hear the nigga's name, like none of that shit, right? Right, to the point where he ended up texting me one day, and he pretty much said that he was like, well, whenever you come over here, like I don't like how you're always on your phone, like I don't know if you're texting your ex or if you're talking to anybody else. And I told him no, like most of the time when I'm on my phone, I'm on social media, like, you feel me? And then most of the time I'm just scrolling. So he was like, when you come over here, like I don't want to talk about your ex, like I don't want to hear about him, like none of that. So to respect his wishes, I said okay, like all right, no problem. So So this night we get over there. Oh, and mind you, I did not tell Shakita about this either. I didn't tell her like, oh, Boo feels some type of way every time we bring up my ex, so like don't say nothing. Like I didn't say nothing to her about that. So we're over Boo's house and we're all in Boo's room. We're all in there, we're all chilling. They're playing the game, and us girls are just in there per usual. So out of nowhere, out of the clear blue, I kid you not, the clear blue, Shakita, she goes, so what were you and your ex arguing about when I was in the bathroom? Why would you say that? So I said, oh, we were that loud? Like, you heard us? And she was like, yeah, I could hear y'all arguing, but I couldn't hear, like, what y'all were arguing about. So then Boo was like, your ex was over at your house? And I'm thinking, great, great. You had to open the can of worms. No, no, for real. So I told Boo, I was like, yeah, he basically just didn't want me to come over here. So what were y'all arguing about then? Because now I want to know. And now Boosie is like, ooh. And I'm like, no, no, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. We were just arguing because he felt some type of way about me coming over here. Like, he didn't want me to come over here, this, that, and the third. So, because why would she say that? Like, so now Boo feels some type of way. And it's pretty obvious that he feels some type of way and that he's like mad or something like that because he just starts acting very like standoffish towards me. Like he didn't want me touching him as far as like trying to like cuddle with him or like rub his back or stuff like that. Like he did not want me to touch him at all. And so I'm just like, all right, cool, fuck it then, nigga, fuck it. No, I wasn't saying that, but I was just like, all right, cool. So Shakita gets on her phone and she starts scrolling through pictures. So as she's scrolling through pictures, she stops on a picture, and the picture is the girl that my ex cheated with, the girl, their kid, and some other kids, right? And when she notices that she swiped on the picture, she was like, oh, shoot, my bad. And then hurried up and swiped to a different picture. And I'm like, no, you're good. I know that she's your friend too. I don't want you to feel like you can't, like, like you can't bring her up, or I don't want you to feel like, you gotta play the middleman here, because it didn't have nothing to do with you. Like, it was him. Like, it was his fault. Like, he's the one that cheated. Like, no, for real. But he's the one that cheated. It is what it is. Oh, why didn't I finish off that night? Anyway, so that night shit got crazy. Shakita gets up and she goes to sit on her man's lap. So, of course, they're kissing and doing all this other stuff. Like, not like that, but like they're obviously kissing and like touching each other and stuff like that. So, Boosie ends up texting Boo, and then Boo showed me the message. And the message said, can y'all go downstairs real quick so we can have the room to ourselves? So I said, okay, now, and I know you're probably wondering, why didn't they just go into the guest room? Well, because, so remember how I said that Boo's uncle, it was pretty clear that he had money and he was making really good money with whatever job that he had. So apparently he had some type of expensive watch that he couldn't find. And his uncle basically was saying that Boosie stole the watch. And Boo was like, how could he steal the watch when he never goes into your room? Like, you just don't like him and stuff like that. So because of that, his uncle was like that he didn't want Boosie over there anymore, right? But of course, Boo was still sneaking Boosie in so that he could see Shakita. So when his uncle would go to work, that's when me and Shakita would come over. He would sneak Boosie in. So when we would all hang out, instead of them going into the guest room like Shakita and Boosie, they would be in Boo's room with us. Excuse me, and that's where we would all hang out at, pretty much. So so that's why they asked to have a room to themselves. And of course I didn't mind. I was like, all right, that's fine. Like, I don't have a problem with that. So we get up and we go downstairs, and Of course, when we get down there, Boo is still feeling some type of way, and I bring it up, and I'm like, "What's wrong with you?" And he was like, "Because I told you I didn't want to hear about your ex, and like you still bringing his name up." And I'm like, "I didn't bring his name up. Shakita brought his name up, and she asked the question, so I answered the question because you also wanted to know. Like she wanted to know why we were arguing, and you wanted to know why we were arguing. Like it's not like I told her, oh yeah, when we get over there, bring up this nigga's name. Like what? Like it just happened like that." So of course he's still feeling some type of way, this, that, and the third. Oh my god, here we go. Here we go. The night is ruined. Like, no, for real, the night is ruined. So we're downstairs and we're watching Empire. So we're watching Empire, and then Boo was like, he was like, "You know what I always wanted to do on this rug?" Because his uncle had a very nice, expensive rug in the living room. He was like, "You know what I always wanted to do on this rug?" And I said, "What?" He takes out his phone and he shows me a video. He shows me a video of him eating a girl, basically, on a pool table. And I said, "Oh, okay." And I walk back over to my seat and I sit down. Because I don't know what he thought that was gonna do. Like, I don't know if he thought I was gonna look at the video and be like, "Oh my gosh, me next." Like, I don't know what he thought that was gonna happen. But to be completely honest with you, at that point, I was just like, "Oh, you're gonna show me that kind of video and think that I want you to like do that to me? It's not gonna happen." So at that moment, I made it pretty clear to myself that I was not sleeping with him that night. I was like, "Oh yeah, it's over for that," and it is what it is. So, so boom. So, so he comes over to me, and now he wants to like rub my back and stuff like that, give me a massage. Y'all already know what goes along with the massage. Rub your back, spread the cheeks, all of that. You feel me? So he starts rubbing my back, starts giving me a massage. And then he gets up and was like, "Hold on, I'm finna go outside to smoke a cigarette." So I'm like, "All right, well, I'm gonna be in here when you get back." So he goes outside to smoke a cigarette, and I go to sleep. I sure did. I go to sleep. Because in my mind, I'm like, he think that when he comes back in for smoking this cigarette, that we finna get down. That's what he thinks. And that's not what's finna happen at all. So anyway, so I ended up going to sleep. So I don't even know how long it was, but he ends up waking me up and he was like, "Come on, let's go upstairs." So I'm like, "Okay." So we go upstairs, and he knocks on his bedroom door. No answer. He bangs on the bedroom door. No answer. So now he goes downstairs, gets a knife, and picks the lock. And he's obviously angry. He was like, "It don't make no fucking sense. I gotta fucking pick the lock to my own bedroom door." Like, he was just so fucking angry. Like, so angry. So, and I'm just standing there because I'm like, yeah. Hmm. Shakita probably should have never mentioned my ex, and maybe this night would have went differently. Like, that's exactly what I was thinking. He picks the lock. He opens the bedroom door. So yeah, I'm gonna end this story here. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for part 2. Bye.